Hey guys, welcome back for our another session of Ironman. We're talking about the seriousness of support this week. We're still in our friendship series, and we're talking about supporting each other. We're looking at times that we might need support, and I want to get into just a little bit of the background of that. Of why is it called a serious issue? Why is there seriousness in supporting each other? See, when you became a believer, your role in life changed. You no longer have the job of just looking out for your own interests. You have the job of now looking out for the interests because you are representing Jesus. And whatever Jesus is interested in, you should also be interested in. So if Jesus is interested in the welfare of other men, now all of a sudden that becomes our interest as well. You see, you're the face of Jesus. You're showing up in the lives of others on his behalf. I mean, God speaks to other people through believers. That's been going on for years and years. You're going to show up in hospitals and funerals and across the table from someone having coffee, or maybe you're playing golf with somebody, you're playing hoops with somebody. There's going to be times when you have to be the face and the voice of Jesus for people that are going through difficult times. So no matter what action you take, no matter what words you say, you're on the job for Jesus, and that all of a sudden becomes serious business. So when we look at it like that, when Jesus has given us the task of encouraging other people and supporting them, that's very serious business. So a men's small group is a great place to get this thing started. And we're going to look at what's called the 4 C's. This is going to be a slide that's going to come up on your screen. And it's called connection. Okay, it's getting together with other people, connecting, getting to know them. Confession. Okay, once you get to know somebody, then you're comfortable confessing to them your sins, your struggles, prayer requests, things like that. Caring, and this is the one we just talked about, that if you're the face of Jesus, you have to care about other people because that's what Jesus does. He cares about people. And the last one is completion. Now you're going to say, what's completion have to do with this? Well, completion is helping another believer become mature in their faith, and you're bringing them to a completion in their walk. And now we never really complete what we're after. We're always continually growing until the day we die. But we're going to help somebody get closer to completion and move from immaturity in their faith to maturity. God's plan is not for man to turn to himself in crisis, okay? So, or the internet, which is what a lot of us do. Sometimes, and this is a step better, is we just turn to God rather than to God and to friends as well. But He's called us to turn to other people for support, because that's how He oftentimes speaks through us. So men turning alone to God is an option for most men because they don't have to be vulnerable. They don't have to be embarrassed about something they're going through. They don't have to be ashamed of maybe something they're struggling with. There's this vulnerability of confession that a lot of guys honestly don't want to be part of. When I was 24 years old, 25 years old, I was at a Bible study at Palmer Chinchin, who's our pastor. So almost 30 years ago, I was at his house. This is when Byron and all his boys were little. I think the last 2 weren't even born yet. But Palmer had this accountability thing where he wanted everybody to have a partner and get together beforehand and confess and do all that kind of stuff. Well, as a 25-year-old, I had no interest in that. In fact, I'd skip like the first 15 minutes just because I didn't want to be around a bunch of people that were sitting around, confessing to each other. That was not what I was interested in as a 25-year-old. Now, almost 30 years later, I can see the benefits of it. Honestly, I still don't do that. I still don't get together with a single person and do that. I am in small groups of men where we do those kind of things, but I'm still working on it. I'm still building up the courage, so don't feel bad if you're one of those guys who doesn't like getting together and confessing. It's something that takes time to do. Some people are more open to it, some are not, and I hope it's something that you explore because it is important. But most men, at great cost, will choose isolation and endure the frustration of this unrelenting loneliness just to protect themselves, rather than to get together with other men and share things that they're struggling with. And the longer that a man remains unsupported and alone, the worse the problem's going to get. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. But all over the place, all over the world, and men are discovering that this is actually a good thing for their marriages and for their finances and their business problems and other stresses and other struggles that they have, to get together with other men and and realize that they're not going through this alone. They're not the only one who's going through this. There's a Bible verse from Ecclesiastes that says, Ecclesiastes 1:9, you're going to see it on the screen here. What has been will be again, and what has been done, it will be done again. There's nothing new under the sun. You see, you might think that you're going through something that's super unique or whatever. It might be a little bit unique, but somebody else is going to be able to speak into your life and go, yeah, I went through something similar to that. Here's how I got through it. Proverbs 17:17 says, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. We went over that verse last week too. So it's not just when things are going good. It says a friend loves at all times. So we need to be there for each other through good times and bad times. Paul talks about this in 2 Timothy 1:15-18. Let me read this to you. It says, you know that everyone in the province of Asia has deserted me. Everyone, he says, has deserted me, including Phygellus and Hermogenes. Okay, may the Lord show mercy to the household of Onesiphorus, because he often refreshed me and he was not ashamed of my chains. On the contrary, when he was in Rome, he searched hard for me until he found me. May the Lord grant that he will find mercy from the Lord on that day. You know very well in how many ways he helped me in Ephesus. So Onesiphorus, his name actually means help bringer in Greek. Isn't that awesome? Okay, but he says that he was refreshed. What does it mean to be refreshed by somebody? Well, I think all of you guys have had conversations with somebody when you get done. It's like, oh, that felt so good to talk to that guy today. He really encouraged me. You know, refreshing means making somebody feel great. You ever ate something or drank something that was refreshing? It just makes you feel better. So that's what we need to be to other people. That's what Onesiphorus was to Paul. 2 Timothy, we're going to go down a little bit further, 2 Timothy chapter 4. Paul says this, he says, do your best to come to me quickly, for Demas, because he loved this world, has deserted me, and he's gone to Thessalonica. Crescens has gone to Galatia, and Titus to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Get Mark and bring him with you, because he is helpful to me in my ministry. I sent Tychicus to Ephesus. When you come, bring the cloak that I left with Carpus at Troas, and my scrolls, especially my parchments. Okay, so bear with me for a second, and bear with my pronunciation for those Greek names. Those are difficult. But as you look through this 4 verses right here, Paul mentions 7 guys. Okay, he had 7 people on his speed dial, so to speak, that he knew he could count on. One of them ditched out, so let's take it down to 6. Demas, he said he deserted me when things got hard. But all of these other people, Crescens, okay, he couldn't help us. Titus, he's somewhere else. But Luke is with me. Mark is with me. Tychicus is with me. Carpus, when you come, bring my scroll. So he had people that could help him. And you notice this too, Paul wasn't afraid to reach out to people. When he had needs, he was okay reaching out. He wasn't saying, I'm good, everything in the prison cell is okay. I'm fine. I got verses memorized. I can sing some songs and stuff, and I can pray. I don't need anything, He recognized he needed people around him. He needed other brothers around him to refresh him, like Onesiphorus. So when Paul has needs, he's not too prideful to ask for help, which is one of the problems with most men. So what do you think Paul's first thought was when he saw Onesiphorus had sought him out and came to him and visited him in prison? There was no way he could have warned him ahead of time, I'm going to be there. All of a sudden, Onesiphorus just shows up, and here Paul sees him. Wow, what a thing to just uplift him and just make his day and just let him know that he wasn't going through this alone. See, Onesiphorus stepped into Paul's lives when things were the darkest. What does this tell you about what kind of man he was? How many of you have, someone's asked for prayer and you said, yeah, I'll pray for you. You maybe check in on them one time and then that's it. And I'm super guilty of that. I try to be good about checking in on someone when a prayer request has come in and see how they're doing. But am I good about the weekly follow-up or the daily follow-up or a text message here? And I'm not as good at that. There was one situation where I was pretty good at it. A friend of mine, his wife was dying. She had some kind of terminal disease or something going on. I can't remember exactly what it was. But for about a month, 4, 5, 6 weeks, I called him every single day. Sometimes he was up, sometimes he was down, sometimes we were laughing, sometimes he was crying. But mostly I would just call and check in on him 5 minutes or less. usually on my way home from work. So if you've got guys that are going through struggles, just check in with them. Just a small word of encouragement makes a big difference. In 1996, I was in Ukraine. I was right outside of, Russia. You guys have seen Ukraine in the news right now. We flew into Kiev, or Kyiv as they call it there, and we got there a full day ahead of one of my teammates. He had trouble getting his visa in time. He finally got it. He had to fly the next day. Well, my team had 4 or 5 guys, and we were waiting on Sid Newcomb, who was my buddy, coming the next day. So we arrived at the airport. A Canadian missionary picked us up and was going to take us on a 12-hour drive up to where he lived. 12 hours. And those roads over there are rough. The car we were in was not very nice. Anyway, but before we leave, I'm talking to this Canadian missionary. I said, well, what about our friend that's coming tomorrow? He said, no, don't worry. I got somebody who's going to pick him up and bring him up there to us. So I sat there for a second. I thought, man, Sid's not going to know who this is. He's not going to know if it's safe to get in the car with this guy or anything. We weren't long out of the Cold War at this point. So I wrote him a note on a piece of paper, and I handed it to somebody who was going to give it to the driver. And it said, Sid, don't worry. We'll see you on the other side. This guy's safe to get in with. He's a fellow believer. So Sid did. He got in the car with the guy, rode 12 hours with someone who didn't speak a word of English. In fact, it was longer than that because their car broke down a few times. And he said, but it was so great. He said the only way they could communicate the whole way was singing hymns together in their own languages. So they'd get the tune going, and then they would each sing their own song. But for Sid, he still talks about to this day how afraid he was when he arrived at the airport, not sure what he was going to do. And then he saw that note from me. It says, it's okay. You're going to be all right. Hop in with this guy. And sometimes that's all it takes, is just a simple note of encouragement. So I want to go back to this. The longer a man remains unsupported with his struggles, the worse they will become. Okay, if you are struggling through something and you're trying to go through it alone, it's only going to get worse. We've seen this play out in our own lives. We see this play out in the lives of other people. And sometimes it's issues like this. It's alcohol, it's drugs, it's pornography, it's infidelity, it's anxiety, it's depression. Whatever the situation is that you're going through, remember, like Solomon said, is nothing new under the sun. You would be surprised how many people are going through the same struggle that you're going through. And you need to get yourself in a group where you can trust the other guys. Don't just go into a group brand new and start, airing your dirty laundry, okay? That's probably not the smartest move. Feel things out, get your feet in the water, kind of test it out, get to know some guys, hang out with them a little bit, build that accountability, build that trust with someone so that you feel comfortable sharing with some of those struggles that you might be having. So how are you at lightening the loads of other people, okay? How are you as a refresher like Onesiphorus? Okay, are you good at coming along somebody who needs your support? Are you okay asking for support when you need it? That's equally as important. Like I said, it could be just a simple text. It could be a call on your way to or from work. It doesn't have to take up a chunk of your day, and it shouldn't be something that you dread doing. If you dread doing it, your heart's not in the right place anyway. Don't even bother. But if you feel like you can be an encouragement to somebody and you feel like this is what Jesus wants you to do, then do it. And you can also just pray for people. Say, hey, look, send them a text, say I'm praying for you. Or you can get together and pray with somebody. Some people do it on the phone for each other. They pray for each other. So don't be shy to do that. So I want to ask you this. Why do you think it is for men to receive help from other men? What is it about us men that we don't think that we ever need any help? Well, here's my 3 theories I came up with. The first one is that we're prideful. Okay, us men have a lot of pride. We're problem solvers. We're not people that want to share our problems with other people. We want to be people that have it figured out. Okay, the second one is we want to look like we have it all together, especially in the social media world. Okay, we don't want to be coming out as somebody who doesn't have our act together. Okay, we want to be somebody who's got it figured out. We're cruising through life. We don't want to look, and this is the last one, we don't want to look weak. Okay, men, we like to look like we're strong, that we got things under control. So let's swallow our pride, recognize that you need help, and don't be afraid to reach out and get it with the right kind of people. So let me ask you this question as we conclude here. In what areas of your life do you need the support of Christian brothers? And, like I said, we all struggle with something. Maybe there's some area that you can start kind of opening up to somebody about that you trust and see if there's some kind of way that he can help you. Okay, so we're going to just conclude with these 4 points. They're going to come up on the screen here. These are the key thoughts I want you to remember from this week. Number 1, personal support is vital for men. Number 2, God's plan is for you to turn to him and to his people for help and support. Don't just turn just to God. Go to people that you know are godly, that you know will speak truth into your life. Number 3, the longer you remain unsupported and alone with your struggles, the worse they're going to become. Okay, you need support. Don't be alone through what you're going through. I've gotten 3 or 4 text messages and emails over the past couple of weeks saying, Kyle, this is good stuff. This is the kind of thing that I need. I've been alone for too long. I've heard that from about 4 or 5 guys over the past couple of weeks, and it's true. Okay, number 4, a part of being God's man is coming alongside men who need your support. Okay, so if you're going to be a godly man, remember what we said at the beginning. If you're on a mission from Jesus, okay, if he cares about people, you should care about people as well. Come alongside of them, support them. Doesn't take long. Look for somebody to encourage this week. Thanks, guys.